All right, this is algebra lesson, what is this, 9.5? Quadratic, using the quadratic formula. Okay, you guys all memorized the quadratic formula. Let's sing it one time together. I'll write it up here so you can see it one more time. Minus b, hold on, Okay, here we go. We're going to sing it right now. Here we go. Ready? Everybody together. Minus b plus or minus the square root of the quantity b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Okay, good deal. That is the quadratic formula. Shh. And this, listen, I'm telling you right now, I told you already that this formula, once you know how to use it, you won't use anything else. Minus b plus, I'm going to make this very neat. Now, we will be talking about this guy right here in a little bit. That's called the what? Do you remember we wrote it down? The discriminant. It's called the discriminant. And I'll tell you right now, here's the, I'm just going to give you the gist so it'll be in the back of your brain, mulling it over before we get there. Notice that what is true about the discriminant? What are some things that we know about it? Where is that? It's inside of the square root symbol, right? So I have a question. What happens if it ends up that this guy in here, that b squared minus 4ac ended up being a negative 5? What? Then there's no solution. Can you have, is there anything that multiplies by itself that adds to a negative? If it ends up being a negative, that means there's no solution, because you can't have, there can be no negative inside of the square root, right? Square root means that there is, what number times itself makes negative 4? Any number times itself is going to be a positive, right? So then this doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? So then that's one thing that, that's what we're going to be looking at is the discriminant and seeing if it's a negative number in there, there's no solution. If it ends up that this number, if it ends up that the number inside of there is 0, if it ends up that the discriminant, is 0, then there is exactly one solution. If there's a number that is greater than 0, any positive number other than any positive integer, any positive number, then there will be two solutions. It's that simple. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Let's now use the quadratic formula to solve this. Let's choose an easy one. Okay, so we have x squared minus 12x equals negative 20. They're not making this super simple for you. What do they make? What are they forcing you to do here? They're forcing you to shift things around. They're forcing you to turn it into a quadratic. This is not a quadratic the way it sits, right? So what do I have to do? So here's the deal. Yeah, we're going to go x squared minus 12x. We're going to add 20 to both sides. Plus 20 equals 0. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you think this one looks like it would be one that you might be able to do simply and just go bang, 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 bang? I would say it looks like it's possible. And listen, this is where, does it take a little bit of time to plug that into minus b plus or minus the square of the quantity b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a? Does that take time? Yeah. If you can do it in a faster way, then do it in a faster way, right? What multiplies to 20 and adds to negative 12? 2 and 10, right? 2 and 10. So it would be, x minus 10 and x minus 2 equals 0, which means that x equals 10 and 2, right? Or switched around. Does that make sense? That you know the answers. You already know this. It's going to be 10 and 2. Agreed? Yeah. You could do that one already. That was last chapter. That was this. You guys know how to do this. So let's put this down here just to remind us that x equals 2 and 10. Okay, we're going to just be reminded of that. Now we're going to go up and we're going to just plug it in. Okay, we're going to plug it in. We're going to go x squared minus 12x plus 20 equals 0. And now we're going to plug it in. Anytime you plug something in, you plug it in. How so? Do I just plug it in? In parentheses. Always do it. Don't forget to do that. Especially here, since you see this, that's the confusing part right there, is you go minus b. Okay, well here's, okay, so it's minus 12, plus or minus, is that true? Is it minus 12? No, because it's already a minus b, so we're going to go minus, negative 12. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's important that you put that in parentheses. Minus b, right there, plus or minus the square root of b squared. What's b again? B squared is negative 12 squared minus 4 times 1 times 20. Yes? All divided by 2 times 1. Do you see what I've done here? I simply plugged stuff in. I plugged in A, B, and C where it belongs. Right? Right, Big John? Does that make sense? I've just plugged it in. All I've done is taken A, B, and C, and plugged it in, right? Okay. This should not be confusing because I've just plugged it into the formula, right? Now we solve it. What is minus 12? Plus or minus the square root of. Inside of here, what am I going to do first? The exponent, right? What is negative 12 squared? 144. So 144. And then I go, what is negative 4 times 1? Negative 4. Negative 4 times 20? Negative 80. Minus 80. All divided by 2. Right? You got to fix this. You got to fix the square root. What is 144 minus 80? 64. So we have 12 plus or minus square root of 64 over 2. What is the square root of 64? 8. 12 plus or minus 8 over 2. Now we have to go like this. We have to go, okay, what is, there's two answers here, right? First of all, notice this. When we solved our discriminant, what do we end up with? Steph, come on. What did we end up with here? What was our discriminant? No. What is our discriminant? 64, right? The discriminant inside there, minus b squared minus 4ac, ended up being 64. That's a positive number, right? Therefore, how many solutions are we going to end up with? 2. So anyway, here's our deal here. We're going to go 12 plus 8 over 2 and 12 minus 8 over 2. What is 12 plus 8 over 2? What is 12 plus 8? 20. 20 divided by 2. 12 minus 8. 4. 4 over 2. You see it? You see it? All you do is plug it in. You just plug it in. Let me give you another one. Let me give you the quadratic formula. Actually, you should be writing down the quadratic formula on your paper right now. You should always have it. If we're dealing with the quadratics, you're always going to want to write down the quadratic formula somewhere on your paper so that you can always consult it. Here's the next one. Solve it. And this one is going to end up being like this, right? 2x squared plus 9x minus 18. And oh man, you remember this? This is where, what would you have to do here? You'd have to group them and remember all that stuff, you know. Now do you have to do that ever again? Why not? You use the quadratic formula. This is no different than 5th graders plugging in the perimeter formula for a square. When you're just plugging it into a formula. The formula is just long. You just still plug it in. Minus b. So minus what? Oh, okay, hold on. Let's fix it. 2x squared plus 9x minus 18 equals 0. Right? We have to get it to be a quadratic. Now, minus b, which is minus Are you guys not with me? Are you guys somehow confused by this? When I say minus b is minus and you're like, I don't have a clue. Let's try it again. Minus b is minus 9. Got it. Plus or minus the square root of the quantity, b squared, which would be 9 squared, minus 4 times 2 times negative 18, all divided by 2 times 2. Right? I just plugged it in. Okay. In green now. Negative 9. Negative positive 9 makes negative 9. Plus or minus the square root of. Okay. 9 squared is 81. And then we go like this. We have negative 4 times a positive 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 18. It's a positive what? Plus 144. All divided by 2 times 2, which is 4. Right? Okay. This in here ends up being, what is that thing? It ends up being a positive. So how many solutions are we going to have? 2. Ends up being a positive, so there's going to be 2. Anyway, what is 81 plus 144? 225. So I have negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 225 divided by 4. Right? Now, what is the square root of 225? 15. So I have minus 9 plus or minus 15 over 4. Okay, here's my 2 solutions right here. Here they are. So we have minus 9 plus 15 over 4 and minus 9 minus 15 over 4. Minus 9 plus 15 is 6. 6 over 4 is 6 over 4 is 3 halves. I would leave it. Negative 9 minus 15 is negative 24. What is negative 24 over 4? How many of you got negative 6 and 3 halves? So I'm confused as to why you didn't get that. I mean, you guys don't know how to plug it in? Do you guys not know how to plug it in? You just plug it into the formula. Are we having trouble remembering the formula? Is that it? I mean, what's the problem?
I dropped the negative.
So did I.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Let's try another one. After this one, I'm giving you a quiz that's going to count. So plug it in. You just plug it in, people. In red. Minus b. So minus. I better hear more people. Minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 12, all divided by 2 times 3. Is there anybody who's at all confused about plugging it in? I mean, we've been doing this since 6th grade, right? We plug stuff in, we put it in parentheses. Is anybody confused about that? I'm serious. Everybody understands how to plug it in. Okay? So now what you do is you take the beginning. We have to get, what is that guy? What is negative 5? Negative 5. Plus or minus the square root of. Now we have to do what's in here. First thing we do is 5 squared, which is 25. Is anybody confused yet? I mean, is this going to be difficult at all for anybody? For real? Is this difficult? No, this is simple. Agreed? I mean, this is straightforward. Okay. And then we go, look, then you take this. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 times negative 12 is plus 144. All divided by 2 times 3 is 6. Awesome. Now we have to do what's in here. What is 25 plus 144? 169. So we have minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 169 divided by 6. And now you're going to take your calculator and you're going to type in Find out what is the square root of 169. It's a whole number 13. How easy is that? It's 13. So it's minus 5 plus or minus 13 over 6. There's our answer. We just now have to finish it. Minus 5 plus 13 over 6 and minus 5 minus 13 over 6. Right? Negative 5 plus 13 is 8. 8 over 6 is 4 over 3. There's one of our answers. Negative 5 minus 13 is negative 18. Negative 18 over 6 is negative 3. There's our two answers. Negative 3 and 4/3. How many of you got that? They're no more difficult than this. The only more difficult thing is that they may ask you to round to the nearest whatever. And if they ask you to round to the nearest whatever, and this number doesn't end up being a whole number, and it ends up being 12.8, ooh, 12.8. What are you going to do with 12.8? Here's your quiz. There it is. In black. Minus b. So minus plus or minus square root of b squared. So that would be negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 9. Because this 9 gets subtracted over here, right? Yeah. Okay. All divided by 2 times 3. Okay. Minus 2 is 2, right? Plus or minus the square root of. Okay, what is negative 2 squared? 4. And then negative 4 times a positive 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 times negative 9 is a plus 108 divided by 6. Okay. 2 plus or minus, okay, what is 4? 4 plus 108 makes 112. Let's just erase that and put 112. Awesome. What is the square root of 112? It's ugly. What is it? What is it? 10.58, so 10.6, right? It ends up being 10.6, so 2 plus or minus 10.6 over 6. 2 plus 10.6 is 12.6. What's 12.6 divided by 6? 2.1 is one of them. And then 2 minus 10.6 is negative 8.6. Negative 8.6 divided by 6 is? Negative what? Negative 1. How many of you got that? 2.1 and negative 1.4. Does it make sense? Okay. Your homework. There it is.